slaves or slaves? I don't, I think it's important to clarify.
No,
Often when people refer to the group that I am known for being
the Beastie Boys.
The Beastie Boys, which always kind of gets me fucking pissed off, because actually it's just Beastie Boys.
Same.
Just saying.
If it was the Beastie Boys, it would come under T in your music catalogue, not B. And we come under S, not
exactly.
T.
It's just slaves.
Just slaves.
That's what I'm saying, which sounds better, I think.
The worst thing is when someone you kind of respect says the slaves, because you can't correct them, because you just sort of stand there awkwardly like, you don't really know my band.
What would be the best way, the most respectful way? Let's say Terry Hall from the Specials.
Good shout.
Standing there. You guys were having a drink. Maybe he's a lovely guy. Maybe he isn't. I don't really know.
Terry?
Terry.
You out there?
Nice bloke.
And you had wanted to correct him, like he referred to you as the slaves. What do you think? What's the best way to lay into it?
I don't think I could just correct someone. I feel too mean.
Really?
Would you, Mike? Would you go, hey?
It's tricky.
It's just
I know, it's a hard thing because
that's
a hard. Yeah, it's a little bit tricky. I think with like writers and stuff, I'm kind of a dick about it because I feel like they're a writer. They should know better. So I'm like, dude, it's Beastie Boys. It's not the. But yeah, if it's like, an artist, if we're like Mick Jones from The Clash or something talking, and he said the Beastie Boys would be.
So how about when people used to come up to you and go, "Oh, sick! So you're the lead singer. Where's the drummer?" And you're like, "What?" Because that happens to us a lot. Firstly, they go, "Oh, it's the guys from The Slaves," and then they'll go, "Yeah, this is the singer, and that's the drummer. Where's the guitarist at?" And you're like, "Whoa." You've not done your research here. Google is very...
All you have to do is watch one video.
Yeah.
You just see one video of one song, and you can see who does who.
So don't talk to us.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm here with Slaves, as we've established, and then we spent some lovely time together in the city of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Working on a record together. And when we would drive to and fro the studio, usually two, we would spend time listening to different music and talking about it.
And being terrified of your driving.
Yeah, well, that was probably... That was because you had
just
common sense.
That
was because you both still had some common sense. But anyway, we'd listen to music that we kind of would reference, I think, in working on the record. So I think the idea then today is we're going to play some of that music and just talk about it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so The Damned New Rose, which I feel like I might have played.
You did.
In the car.
I think that was one of the first tracks you put on.
It was like a reference for vocals, and there was a lot of discussion about how to make a punk band with big drums.
It was one of those things in and now I know that because from being a drummer, I've been accused of fixating over the drums. But it was funny because when I played it, it was a record that in my mind I thought the drums sounded incredible. And then after we listened to it in the car, I was like, oh, drums are kind of all right.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't really incredible.
Modern technology.
The guitars are pretty badass on it, though.
I agree.
But is Captain Sensible? That's the guitar.
No, he's a singer, isn't he? Oh, no. No, yeah, he is Captain Sensible on guitar, isn't he?
All right, here's New Rose by The Damned. Actually, that sounded better. I was kind of on the drum sound, and I take it back. I think it actually sounded all right.
All right.
I do, I agree. I think you were overly harsh.
The guitar sound is really good.
Do you know that song is credited as the first punk song recorded?
Really?
To be late.
But who proclaims these things?
Usually the BBC. But no, what we're saying is not obviously from the English side of things. They got this down. I'm pretty sure it was 76. And so the Pistols formed in 75 or something.
So it was before...
Pistols before The Damned, but this was obviously a recording studio is expensive, isn't it? So.
But then there's this story about the Ramones.
Yeah, but we're talking about UK.
Okay, UK punk.
Yeah.
I don't know my history so well. But
no, me
there's
either.
that story that the Ramones came and played here on tour, and that's when supposedly the Damned were in the audience.
Yeah.
And the Pistols, and I don't know if the Clash were or whatever, but it was the incredibly influential.
Then there was New York Dolls did that as well, didn't they? They were very influential. Anyway, we don't want to call out the punk police because
we
don't care if we're wrong.
It's not a pretty hole to go down, honestly.
No.
I don't know what a pretty hole to go down is.
I can think of one.
The Echochamber.
Well, obviously, yeah.
Two?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Whew. Wow. Really getting into some great deal of controversy here. All right, Isaac, what's the song you should pick? I think you should pick the next one. What was one you remember us having vivid
Well, I remember
dialogue on?
I'm going to pick Damaged by Black Flag, because me and Laurie we've been having a bit of a Black Flag sesh before we came into the studio with you, and particularly that tune was played quite a lot in the dressing rooms when we were on tour and stuff.
I feel like our album was the culmination of 3 weeks in America that sort of doesn't feel real anymore. It was like a little snapshot of time, and as we were on the plane to go to LA to meet you for the first time, I was listening to Damaged on my iPod and just put it in Isaac's ears, and we were just looking at each other just like...
It is so good.
Just saying your own name in a song and sounding so possessed, and just that confidence to, you know, it just says it all. That's where we started our idea of this record, didn't we?
Damage was a record that, I don't know, it was probably like 15 when that record came out, and like I would put it on over and over again in my bed. This is an embarrassing story, but I put it on like in my bedroom, vinyl, and I would like mosh around. Like,
well, that's not that embarrassing.
I used to do that to a song called Barbie Girl by Aqua.
Wait, what?
I think that's slightly more embarrassing.
Barbie Girl.
I'm a Barbie Girl. You know that tune?
No.
We'll play it to you later.
Okay, well, we'll go to that later. So anyway, I think it's interesting that record was like hugely influential on my life, like literally decades ago, and then still.
It was super exciting, wasn't it? It was like such a different, because when you look back, I don't know the dates of the records, but Black Flag were around way earlier than I realised until we started talking about them loads in the studio, and that to be that heavy and like that intense and hardcore at that time was crazy. So obviously it's not radio friendly, is it? But
no, zero.
I think that's the
but I
best
think
thing
that was the
about it.
thing too. Also, like when I heard it, that like there's a thing with that album with Damaged where like, you know, I was coming from the East Coast and coming from New York City, where Black Flag had this paranoid suburban edge. I don't know, it was just like really, really paranoid, and so we didn't have that. So it just seemed really foreign and kind of like cool to us.
Yeah.
In New York, and actually still to this day, one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. It was before Damaged. It was before Henry Rollins joined the band. He was actually in the audience at this show where Black Flag played at a club called the Peppermint Lounge in New York City.
Who was singing?
Dez was still the singer, I believe. I'm pretty sure it was Dez. And Henry Rollins was literally in the audience, like stage diving and slam dancing and whatnot. Just like I was doing in my bedroom, but I happened to be all
Were you
alone.
staged up? Were you
not slam?
I got some good. I would stage dive off of my bed onto the floor. Yeah,
Wow.
that was my big move. That was my go-to. That was my signature.
That's when your mum like started hitting the ceiling with a broom.
Yeah. Right. Come on now.
What are you doing up there, Michael?
Dinner's ready. And then with Black Flag, I think is a cool reference because I think there's like elements of the record that we made together where it is a little bit more hardcore, like that influence is a little bit more in there, but I think in terms of like the sound, as you both know, I was very insistent on making it not sound like a hardcore record, but having that edge of that music.
I think when I was younger and into all of those bands, like, and I first discovered them, the thing that inspired me was I never had a dream of getting on the radio. That was just too far-fetched. The first thing I ever wanted to do was make songs that made people want to jump into each other or like do weird slam dance moves, because it's like you're controlling them with your music. And I think what we've come back to on this record is those heavier breakdowns and the harder sounding songs, to just do that again, not be influenced by what's going to be played on the radio, like just making music for that, like playing it live and just the breakdown and the kids in their bedroom jumping onto their floors.
Because that's the payoff, isn't it? Like when you play it live and you see people going crazy to it, that's like done, check.
Yeah.
Although if
it's
I
real.
For real, if I could take a moment to... No, but I'll compliment you guys. I think that it was cool as you kind of have both, because it's like there's some records that are just energy, but then I think it's cool you guys kind of found a balance of having that energy there, but it's also within a song format. You know, so it's like songs that work as songs. As well.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
That's my compliment. That was the compliment of the day feature. All right, I'm going off the playlist right now, guys.
Whoa.
This is a song that Slaves introduced me to. German Whip.
Oh,
yes, mate.
shout outs.
That's my now. I love German Whip. Echo Whip by Meridian Dan, but the remix version was Skepta.
Shout out Skepta.
Skepta came out with a good record.
Good friend.
I think, and that's a good point that, like, in a day, because I think we talked a little bit about that when you guys were working on your record of, like, this day and age, not that many people put out strong albums.
Yeah.
Especially in
the rap
like
world.
hip hop, for sure. So, again, shout out to Skepta. What other songs we got to get to? Straight to Hell.
I've got a lot of favourite Clash songs, but this is like, I don't know, it's one of those ones that I don't think a lot of people realise they wrote it, because everyone just thinks of MIA Paper Planes because she sampled it. You know, when something gets sampled. Well, in our generation, I think most people reckon. Would you agree?
Although I think, like, it was funny when I first heard the MIA song, like, I don't know if it was her or Wes Diplo, whoever, like, had the idea of using the sample. Like, I actually was like, wow, that was a really cool.
Yeah,
like, I was kind of like, I wish I had thought of that.
But the whole reason of bringing Straight to Hell up as well was watching, like, if you go through the Clash records and how they developed and how it still sounded like the Clash, but the songs were different, and that's one of those, that whole album, Combat Rocks, like, probably one of my favourite records by them, and just that, like, more slow, thought out, probably better instrumentation and stuff. It was something I wanted to, like, experiment with, and just, like, the more singing side of it, wasn't it?
Yeah, like just progression and evolution.
Without losing your, like, sort of style.
Here is The Clash, Straight to Hell. All right, that was Straight to Hell by The Clash. See, I'm really not good at this whole back announcing, front announcing. I think I should get someone on my show that's just their job.
Well, I'm looking for a new job.
Yeah.
Always.
I mean, you got a future family to feed. This could be,
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And that was
The Clash,
this
Straight to Hell.
But, it was interesting hearing that song. I felt like also you hear, like, the influence of, like, reggae and dub. Like, they were really into Mikey Dread and some
Yeah, the
different
punks
Jamaican
didn't
things.
think they were hard enough, did they?
But there's also, I think, a New York influence on that song. Like,
They spent a lot of time recording in New York, didn't they?
They did.
I really relate to that band because there are stories of Paul Simonon staying late after practice to learn his bass lines because he couldn't play along, and something similar happened with our track Lies, where we recorded the drums, and then Isaac since has been learning how to play the drums to the song.
really? Well, no, but when you guys were playing it through in the studio,
Yeah.
Lies, that is, you were, like, it all sounded, like, really natural and no
Yeah,
problem.
I think I don't know.
You confused yourself.
I think I confused myself, just like starting with a different hand than I usually do. I don't know.
But
anyway,
I really relate to musicians that aren't just, like, classically trained, sit down, read music. Like, we fuck up. We're not the best at either of our instruments, but that's almost what makes it interesting, because when you come across something, or the way we play is why we get the sounds we get. And I really relate to bands that are like that, experimenting and just f***ing around, basically.
Well, I mean, sometimes the limitations are what makes things unique.
Yeah.
And actually, in your guys' case, I don't even think it's so much the limitations. It's like, I think it's because of, like, how you approach your guitar playing, and because you don't have a bass player, it makes it totally unique. And then also because of how you play drums, and you're just not conventional. Like, there's no kick pedal.
So where the crashes come in is always
certain
different.
Certain people who know Slaves know there's no hi-hat.
The hi-hat, segue.
So out of that unconventional, like, limitation that you guys have, right, it creates a totally unique sound. Nobody else. Unless there's going to be a Slaves copy band. But
Yeah, I'd quite like that, though.
yeah.
no, I
To
think
know
there's
that
a
you
lot to be
inspired
said
another
for.
band would be pretty
I mean,
sick.
to me, I think that's one of the main things. Like, when we would sit around the studio, we talk about what makes a good MC.
As in a master of ceremony.
As in a master of ceremonies. I think, like, a good rapper, it's like distinction of voice is maybe number one on my list.
And I think this leads really well into the song I want to pick next. I'm just going to Take Control.
Okay.
As a guitarist and a bit of a punk kid, I hadn't really thought much about vocals or what makes a great MC, and that's why being in the studio with you and watching Isaac write the lyrics to this record and the melodies and all that, how important not just the words are, but the melody, the way you punctuate your words. And it was mind-blowing to me that there's so much thought goes into vocals, and so I've picked No Sleep Till Brooklyn to play, but that must have been even harder for you guys because there's 3 of you. It might have been easier, but it feels like trying to get all your personalities out without clashing.
It's not even so much without clashing. Like I remember, like No Sleep Till Brooklyn was actually an easier song for us to write because we kind of came up with
the concept,
the idea. Because full disclosure here, we were big Stiff Little Fingers fans. We had this like fantasy of writing like a tour song that made it sound like we were some big band that were on tour, but really like the furthest from New York we'd ever gone at that point was like 2.5 hours drive to Philadelphia or something. Maybe we might have made it up to Boston, which is like a 5-hour drive.
Wow. Big.
In a van, yeah. So
it's a great song though.
But it just goes to show in a song you can make it sound big.
Yeah, that's true.
Well done, mate.
Fake it till you make it.
Here, Laura, you pick the song. You have to introduce it now.
This is No Sleep Till Brooklyn by the Beastie Boys.
That was No Sleep Till Brooklyn. We do the chorus a lot in that song. Maybe too much. I don't know. I guess it worked.
Radio bangers.
Yeah. Now I have to go back, as we were talking about when you were doing the album, that you just started playing a riff in the studio.
Yeah,
And I think we were all like instantly kind of blown away by it, and thought we were like,
"Oh, it made me blush."
No, but we were cool. No, but I think all of us were like, keep doing that. And then Isaac started like filling in with his part, and right away it sounded so good that I thought like maybe it was like a cover of another song because it just sounded really good. Not that it sounded like anything else, but that it just worked so well and came together.
I think all of our best songs, someone close to us has usually said, "Haven't you just stolen that off someone?" I remember when I first wrote The Hunter, my girlfriend thought that I'd copied someone because she was like, "I've heard that before." You get that familiar feeling when you write something good.
It's good, isn't it?
I get slightly frustrated with like sounding the same on every song, and I think a way that I've disguised not having a bass player is just to play really loud and fast all the time. And with this record I wanted it to have more like, I like songs that don't have distortion on. I don't think it's, and so I wanted to like work out how to play a bass and guitar at the same time, so it's like I was just jamming around an idea with my thumb trying to play the bass notes and the high bits, and it just we didn't want to write any more songs. I think we were overwriting songs, and then we were tired, and we were like, and then it just, that's the magic of the studio, just something coming out of nothing, because the control desk kept breaking to the point where we'd been standing in the live room for like half an hour watching lots of heads shaking.
Yeah, can we talk for 1 second about the studio we were in? I picked this studio where I think nothing has really worked properly in about 15 years.
But I wouldn't change it for the world. It was still...
No, it did. I agree. It worked out. There was something with all the head shaking and like things breaking there. I remember, like, I still look back at it. There were like 2 days where you guys like tracked like, I don't know, maybe 6 of the best songs on the record. And I think part of it was all of us being so frustrated that it wasn't working properly.
Yeah,
it felt
everything plays its part when you're in the studio. Whatever happens, it's gonna alter the sound a little bit, isn't it?
I love the story of the record as well, like initially being penciled in for 3 days pre-production and 3 days in a studio, and just seeing what will happen and thinking, yeah, maybe we could record an album in 3 days, and then our label not hearing anything but saying to them, you need to let us stay for another 2 weeks. We're going to record an album. You need to move all our shows around. And everyone was like, can we hear something? And it's like, no, but it's really good. And it felt like, I felt really proud of ourselves, which sounds really lame, but just like putting our foot down and going, we're going to make a record, just going to stay here, do it. And we did it.
I didn't think about it in that light at all, but I give you guys props for having the faith in doing it. And then actually looking back at it, I have to give a shout out to Matt, your manager.
Yeah.
Like, no disrespect, but you were not there. Matt was there. But, you know, like, I mean, Matt could have just turned white.
Yeah.
Like, when we were kind of, like, talking to him that day in the studio and been like, you guys are
insane.
Crazy. I'm going to switch shows around, and I don't even know what you're making. But he was just kind of like, cool with it, and he just kind of like, you're right, he had faith in you guys and supported you, which actually I think the best managers do that. They just have faith in you, and then they translate that and try to make everything else work. So
big up.
Damaged Goods. We were just talking about the guitar and the bass, I think, working off each other uniquely. That's what kind of like Gang of Four, I guess, like the signature.
For that entertainment record, definitely. Just that whole like bass guitar, like battling, it's really cool. Makes you feel sort of on edge and...
Yeah, it's like they're fighting each other. Wicked.
Yeah, but I think what a favorite use of that, Isaac, but it's like you don't ever really get comfortable with it. Like there's something about that Entertainment album that's like, it's not...
We said it was scatty, like it's kind of like all over the place, but it's so like...
It's driving music because it keeps you wired. It's like doing your... and you're just like... puts your ears on edge, doesn't it?
Sounds popping up from all directions.
And like you were saying, Mike, the guitar is great, but it's nothing without the bass. If you just listen to the guitar track, it would sound completely weird. You couldn't play it on your own. It's like dependence on another musician.
It's the relationship
between bass and guitar.
Word.
So I reckon we should go into Violent Femmes, Gone Daddy Gone, because stand-up drummer, in my eyes, it's super punk, but it's got that softer, more sung edge. I think they'd sound pretty cool together.
First off, I was surprised. I think it was on one of the... before we worked together and I just talked to you on the phone. I think they were a band that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised about it because I just felt like, I mean, I grew up with the Violent Femmes, but then I was like, I was really surprised that was like an influence at all or something that you guys were into.
Yeah. Someone pointed it out to me early on, like, oh, they've got a stand-up drummer. And I was like, when you listen to their music, you don't think, like, I wasn't that aware of what they looked like. I just, everyone knows Blister in the Sun and stuff. And it's just that, it's punk. It's really, like, got that attitude, but it's quite pleasant to listen to, and it reminds me of our music if we were to... I like the fact it's stripped back as well. It's different. You
guys have a shared thing in that. It's like they have a pop sense, right? They write real songs.
Yeah.
But they're not afraid to be who they are. It's like that. And again, it's like a totally unique... Yeah. There's no other band that sounds like the Violent Femmes. As soon as you hear it, it's just a completely unusual combination somehow.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah.
Gone Daddy Gone.
Violent Femmes. We're in London, yo. For real. Slaves.
Mike
D. Echochamber. We're in very central London right now.
Beats one.
I mean, does it get more central than this? It is central.
Not really.
No, this is pretty central. We're in Soho.
Yeah, we're essentially central.
Yeah.
We are.
I was going to play the Specials' Do the Dog.
Oh, tune.
A, because it's an incredible song. B, that was a record. Another one, I was surprised that... I wasn't as surprised that you'd mentioned it as a reference because I just feel like the Specials were so... They were just such an important band for England, really definitely. Like an iconic, important band. But also for me growing up, I've loved the Specials.
Best dressed band ever, possibly.
Really well, but the whole thing worked. Like they had a look, they had songs, they had like a totally unique sound. I mean, they were influenced by ska, but it's not like what they were making was like ska.
It was their own
directly. They took like kind of some of that sounds, but then what they ended up making was totally uniquely their own.
I think it's really overlooked, the links between bands and style, and like people don't like to talk about it like it's
aesthetics.
That's all there on purpose. The aesthetic of that band and the sound of that music, the revolution and the unity of different cultures. It makes them such an important band in our musical heritage.
Yeah, well, and there was a song on the album we did together called Take Control. There was like an idea that didn't directly come from this, but just a way that this sounded, that, sometimes when you want things to sound a certain way, the easiest way is to say, oh, what about this song?
Yeah, because when you first hear this song and it says Do the Dog, you think to yourself, like, is that right?
The mix.
They've got the mix wrong there. It's uncomfortably loud, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah, wicked.
Because we've got these assumptions of what music should be and how it should sound, and if someone just chimes in all of a sudden with quite a dry voice going, Do the Dog, it just sounds quite weird, and that's what I love about this track.
Yeah, well, they make it work. And the weird thing is also, this is a song that I think about done by, like, any band that was, like, even just the teeniest bit less cool. It would just be a novelty song that you would never listen to, like, a second time. But there's something with it, with all the different elements and that really clean guitar line and everything, that it just really incredible.
And also, like, an early sighting of, like, maybe one of the first UK rappers, Terry Hall. That intro to this song It is almost rap.
Yeah, it is.
It is almost rap. Terry Hall it's one of my favourite intros to any song vocally.
Actually, now I'm going to tell a side story, which is I saw at one of like the first hip-hop shows I went to in New York City. There was a club in downtown New York called Negril. There was this woman, Lady Blue, and she brought like African Bambaataa downtown to DJ. So it was like a new thing to have rappers and whatever from like up in the Bronx and Harlem come down to like a club in like downtown New York. And I went to like one of these first nights. I was like 14 years old or whatever it was. No, probably maybe 15. But anyway, and then I think Africa Bambaataa was DJing. And if I think right, maybe Treacherous 3 were performing. But anyway, so it was like, and it was incredible because it was like, the music was incredible and it was like nothing I'd ever seen. But in the audience was Terry Hall.
There you go.
The specials. And then, but then I was like kind of like really freaking, you know, actually it was all like myself and all my friends. Like I was there with Adam. I had probably with both Adams from my band and then all these like girls who we were hanging out with at the time that we'd all go to shows with. And we were all like kind of completely starstruck, right? That Terry Hall from the special, we were all like kind of freaking out like, Terry Hall from the Specials is here because there was like a little club.
He wasn't in Funboy 3 at that point.
It might have just been like kind of like transition point of like Specials to Funboy 3.
That's a cool story though. We grew up in Kent. We don't have any of those stories.
Now we have the Specials produced by Elvis Costello, whom I ran into and propped for producing the album Do the Dog. Next with a song called Marquee Moon by Television, a New York band from the album Marquee Moon. But I think it was something I was thinking of when we were in the studio together, because I was thinking like production-wise is a really interesting thing where the guitars are really loud. It sounds like a little bit nerdy for me to say, but the guitars are really loud, but it's like this incredible guitar line, but then the vocals are also really loud. And I think there's something, that's what part of what I think is one of the things that makes the Slaves like signature sound is that both, you know, like your guitar, Laurie, and then your vocal, Isaac, like they're both loud, but they work together.
Yeah, and the drums are really loud. Everything's just really loud.
Everything is all loud all the time.
Recorded well and making it sound right is quite a hard feat, Michael.
Yes.
Well done.
And this is what...
Well done, mate.
Woo! You made it! All right, coming up, this is a song called Take Control by Slaves. That was, we had talked a little bit about Do the Dog by the Specials and that being an influence. What else would you like to add about Take Control?
It's the title track from our album. Our album was almost based around this song. We were sat on a plane flying back from Summer Sonic in Japan last year, just talking to each other because we had a long flight. And we were talking about album titles, and it was like a phrase that Isaac had been throwing around for a while. And we literally sat there and decided that that was going to be a song and the album title, and that was our starting point, which is quite an odd way of working, I think, because I don't think we did last time. Last time we just wrote loads of stuff and we picked at the end. Mm-hmm. And then when we got off the plane, you know, a few days later I had practice and this song just came out. It was one of the first songs we wrote, so it feels quite an important part of the album. Yeah,
well, also I think it's cool, like, actually, that one, that you're mentioning that as a concept, and then the other thing I think, and not to make too big a deal about it, but like in this day and age where everybody does like tons of co-writes and people are just very, very dependent on getting stuff from other people to make their records right now.
Yeah, it's true.
For some reason, that's just where our culture is at for whatever reason, and doing collabos or whatever. And you guys started out with a very clear vision of what you wanted to do. You know, like right there, this is like kind of what the album's going to be called, and this is, and you know, you're not like, obviously we worked together on this, right? But it was like, you know, really you had a concept, a vision.
Yeah.
So I commend that.
It's important. I think without any vision, you just sort of end up spending time twiddling your thumbs, waiting for it to come, so...
I've done that.
Yeah. This is Take Control.
Take Control. Echochamber from London, England. I got Slaves.
Oh, well, this track for me has just been like... It's one of those songs from the moment we wrote it until this point, it's just always been clear in my head that it should be like a single, which is that doesn't really happen very often because singles are such a, you know, know, sometimes bands don't worry about their singles, they let the record companies just pick, or there's just something so instant about it for me and aggressive, and it just has so much power when we play it live. And I think that's what, again, we go back to, is how they sound live, and this song just feels powerful to play live. It's just, this for me is like one of the key tracks on the album.
Yeah, well, for me, with Spit It Out, I think where I'm really happy with it, how I think it works, is that it's really hard. It's almost like one of the hardcore songs that we're referencing and playing, but it has like a really strong melodic sense and really works as a song. You know, even the break part, it just makes you even more excited about it as a song.
And it came out really quickly when we wrote it. I remember it was one of those, we played it like 3 or 4 times and it was just done. And those are always the best songs, where they just flow naturally and you don't have to try too hard.
Spit It Out by Slits.
Beats one.
The Echochamber. We're going to have an intimate interview right now with Isaac about No Tears by Tuxedo Moon.
This song has been apparent all the way through my life. I remember, because my dad's a big record collector, so I grew up with a lot of music around the house. I remember being a really small kid and just being like, put something fast on, Dad, I want to dance around the room. And he used to put this on all the time. And then I've just always loved this song, and I think it's definitely influenced our sound. Just like, I love the tone of the lyrics. I think just like the speed of it, just like the way it just rides on.
Feels like it could fall apart.
Yeah, it feels like it could fall apart. Just,
that was always your mission statement for our band. I was always the like, oh, this isn't working, and I was always like, no, that's when you know you're bang on the money, when you're in between good and bad.
I think that's the most exciting music. Like when I'm watching a band, it's kind of rare for me to stand there for the whole set and be entertained. But if it's going wrong, or it feels like it's going to go wrong, I'll stand there and I'll watch. I don't know if that's kind of
watching
sick,
a car crash.
No, but I agree with that. I think there's something about, there's an exciting thing of like, I don't know, I think of like the American band, The Replacements, kind of like that. Like there's bands like when you kind of like, you feel like that there's going to be a train wreck.
Yeah.
That it's just more exciting.
Definitely.
But then on the flip side of it, like I remember us playing like a show at the Brixton Academy here, and really feeling like it actually really did degenerate into a train wreck.
Yeah.
And everybody like loved it. Everyone's like, oh, that was the most amazing show. And I was like, oh God, it sucked. We've everything. We've everything up. But somehow, like actually for the audience, it was better.
We're the opposite. I think we're a bit opposite, because we enjoy when it goes wrong so much. Sometimes we get sidetracked so badly that our tour manager will go, just look at us. He'll just look at us. He'll be
like, you need to play a song now, because it would have gone wrong and it'll have been fixed, and we're still going on just like telling jokes with the crowd.
But I think because you mentioned The Replacements, I have to say that I listened to Bastards of the Young about 1,000 times when we were in the studio, just in my earphones, and that is a real like punk rock anthem of like a band that sort of like real, they punk, aren't they? That like they're not. Also, I didn't really know of them that well, and that's I think that's a song to put a note on.
Yeah, because they're pop.
Yeah.
Like as songwriters or as songs, they're kind of pop, but there's something about the energy or the I don't give a attitude or the train wreck element that kind of makes them. That's the only thing that makes them punk, really.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would just be pop, and it probably actually wouldn't be that exciting if they didn't have that.
Which is
energy.
good.
We should say as well that we went to see Tuxedo Moon recently as well, because I didn't even know they were still going. Like they're like an old band, but it was an experience, wasn't it?
And that was their pretty much one hit or one like hooky song when they didn't play it. They just had like arcs. It was just definitely. It's good to see bands that play for loving music and not for making money, because I think that is actually something that's really missing in the musical landscape of today, whether people admit it or not.
Chasing papers.
So this is
Tuxedo Moon with No Tears.
I want to thank Slaves for joining me here on
Thank you for having us, Michael.
Somewhat rainy day in London, which I would expect nothing less in this fair city. So to finish it, we're going to play a song by Slits, who are actually, honestly, one of my favorite bands. The Slits Cut album was a very, very important record.
Was it the first time you saw boobs?
I think it was, actually. It was like a big deal. Like the record cover like freaked me out and fascinated me both at the same time. Because it's just like that thing of just being able to be whatever, women being that strong and that real, and having no fear was a really cool thing.
And I love the fact it's not like leather clad and safety pinned, like, because it is actually just that album cover is the like true punk sentiment, and there's no stylizing in it at all. And I think that's really important. Like, I don't think you can have a punk radio show without mentioning that band. And possibly one of my favourite covers of all time. One where it makes me think I'd rather listen to this than the original. I
agree. This is one of those few times of where a cover, they took a song and they made it completely their own. It's like they really, it's definitely, I heard it through the grapevine, but it's totally their own version. It's signature Slits in every way. And they had, I think to me, it's like everything that's cool about punk too. It's like where the Slits, it's like what you were talking about earlier, they might not have been incredible musicians or whatever, but because of that, they had totally their own unique sound. The bass, the guitar, drums, everything. Ari Up's vocals is like a completely unique blend of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Slaves, for joining me.
Thank you for having us, Mike.
Cheers.
We out.
Done. We out.